Welcome to Fundraising Unpacked 2024, and today's session is going to be on Introduction to Foundation Directory Online. So I just want to welcome you all to COAC. Here's a picture of our lovely space here, which I am in now. I'm in our beautiful space. For those of you who don't know who we are, COAC is a hub that accelerates transformative impact with nonprofits and community organizations in Southeast Michigan through collaborative idea generation, cross-sector resources, and equitable access to the world-class programming and learning opportunities. So that's who COAC is, who we are. And then here are our core values: equity, access, and inclusion, transparency and trust, quality and excellence, collaborative learning culture, disruption of the status quo. And like I say, today's class is Introduction to Foundation Directory. And the lovely Trish DeWalt will be the facilitator, and I will be the co-facilitator today. So I think now I am turning it over to Trish.
Good morning, everybody. In today's class about the Foundation Directory Online, I just see an AI bot joined us. That's fine by me if it's fine by you, Asteria.
Who joined us? I'm sorry.
An AI bot that'll be taking notes from one of our participants.
Okay.
All right.
That's fine.
But today's session, at its core, we're going to be learning how to use the Foundation Directory online to help find funders to support your nonprofit work. I'm Trish DeWalt. I'm an advisor to COACT, but I am also the CEO and principal advisor for a local boutique consulting firm called Mondo Unlimited. And we serve the nonprofit sector with capacity building support and also in talent placement and acquisition in the C-suite. Before we get started, I just wanted to, Asteria, if you could just jump to the next slide.
Sure.
I'm going to give a quick overview of what we're going to do. So you can see here, I'm going to share with you a little bit about what the Foundation Directory is, how to get really clear on what your organizational needs are before you jump into this rabbit hole, how to find and identify prospects that will support your project-based work, how to identify and evaluate the fit of these prospects if they're good for the needs of your organization. We'll also talk a little bit about how you can access the Foundation Directory online and where to get help if you need it. But before we jump into that, I'm curious to know from the group, you can drop it in the chat, how do you currently find grant opportunities? How are you identifying which funders to approach? When you're searching for grants, how do you figure out who to approach? Visit foundation sites. So go directly to the source. I've identified the Ford Fund as a potential foundation that could support my work. Go to their site, learn more about them. Endless searches of organizations, W-9s from similar organizations. Sleuths, we're sleuths. Back in the day when I first started fundraising, I used to have to go to the library to get this big fat book and like look through and who supports arts organizations or who supports museums. Find them, right? The minute it's printed, it's out of date. For grant opportunities, Ashley uses Google, LinkedIn, searching through websites. Laborious. Word of mouth, great way to identify potential funders. All right, Asteria, we'll go to the next slide. So searching online, we know that less than 10% of foundations actually have websites. So even Google can't find those foundations if their websites don't exist. So, you know, when you search online, you might see a news story and add them to your prospect list, but that's really an incomplete data set. Sometimes We look for RFPs, requests for proposals. Those are pretty hard. Less than half of 1% of foundations actually publish their RFPs because they're not required to issue them. So it's really not a comprehensive view of foundation giving in the sector. Tiffany, that's interesting. Tiffany said chat GPT. Maybe a little bit later, I want to come back to that because this AI is becoming a really interesting tool for nonprofits lately. Searching GuideStar. Nobody said that, but I think that probably comes with the Google search. We love, love, love GuideStar, but the profiles are designed for transparency, not necessarily for grant seeking analysis. So you won't always find robust amount of data or application guidelines or other information that can help with your grants research, but it can be a really good starting point for grant makers. Looking at 990s, those tax documents are dense. There's a lot of pages. The information is incomplete. If we're going to go to 990s, first you have to know a foundation's name. But those 990s are only going to show just 1 year's worth of grants. So you can't really see trends. They usually have a lot of extra information that's not going to help you in your grant seeking. And they're also just not very searchable unless you use Control F, which is fine, but not a very efficient use of your time. Okay, so how can we find potential funders who don't have websites, who don't publish RFPs, but they are giving away grants every year for organizations like all of yours? How do we do that? That's what we're here to talk about. You can pop to the next one, Asteria. So we can use the foundation directory. So the foundation directory is this really beautiful resource. It's a searchable online web-based tool that will help you to find funders more quickly so that you can spend more time building the relationships with them. And that's really key. If you've been in any of my sessions previously, you know that I'm a big advocate of building relationships, certainly not crafting a laborious proposal and lobbing it over the wall and hoping that just because a funder gives to organizations like yours, that they'll see your beautifully articulated proposal and decide to give you money. It really starts with relationships. The foundation directory resource will help us as nonprofits be able to be more efficient with identifying who we want to build those relationships with. And so the foundation directory has a really rich and robust data set of both US, national and international philanthropy. And it has more than, I think, close to $250,000 funder profiles that includes 2 million recipient records with over 4 million grants. And so as this information is compiled into one data set, it becomes really, really rich information to help you decide who to approach and for what. And I should also let you know, excuse me, the foundation directory remains current. They update it daily with any profile changes, any new grant records. So as they're compiling data and information from thousands and thousands of funders, it's going into the foundation directory in a way that's going to be searchable. So where do they get this information? What are the data sources? For most of the funders that you're going to find in the foundation directory, that data set comes from 990 forms. Tiffany, yes. She asked, will attendees receive a copy of the slide deck and recording? The Asteria, I don't know what the time lapse is, but certainly this session will be available online at some point. Do you remember how long before it's online?
You know, I'll send the recording and the videotape over today, and they'll make the edits to it, and then it probably, I would say, would be up online probably the first of next week.
Okay.
Probably by Monday. We try to get them up as quick as possible, so.
Yes. Okay, so the foundation directory's data comes mostly from Forms 990, but it also uses a lot of other resources to build those profiles that are on this slide, right? So I'm not going to read them all to you, but the foundation directory is pulling from news stories, from government grants, from all sorts of places. All right, so that's what it is, why we're talking about it. Let's get ready to learn how to search the foundation directory. But are we really ready to do that? I think before we jump into searching the foundation directory, it's really important to be very, 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 very clear on what your needs are. So before you jump into this giant source of information and data, it's really important for you as an organizational leader to have a very clear idea of what the project is that you're trying to fund. And this is important because it will help to make your research more focused. Because if you go into the foundation directory online and say searching for grants for youth serving organizations, you're going to get tens of thousands of results. It's not going to be that helpful for you. So we'll talk a little bit more about how to get really narrow. So in order to do that, we're going to brainstorm different descriptions for your organization. So get really clear on who you're serving, what their geography is, and what it is you're doing for them. So Asteria shared with you a worksheet prior to this session. And if for any reason you didn't receive it, just drop us a note. We'll make sure that all the participants receive that worksheet. But the worksheet is meant to help walk you through this exercise so that you can get really, really narrow on your search. So we're going to pretend for this class that we're searching for funding to support a Title I elementary school in Atlanta, Georgia. And they have an after-school program that will teach kids how to choose and to prepare healthy foods and how to exercise through play. And we want to do this because we're horrified by the skyrocketing rates of obesity, diabetes, lack of fitness amongst our students. And so knowing that that's our pretend organization, can you suggest some descriptions for, okay, Asteria is showing up in the chat that folks haven't been able to access the worksheets. So we might have to extract them into PDFs and send them to all of the registrants in advance or post.
Okay, I did send them out last night. I sent a second email out yesterday with the worksheets attached, with the handouts attached, but I don't know if everybody got it or not.
It seems like not. It seems like there's
Okay.
a glitch in the matrix somewhere.
Okie dokie.
All right.
Okay,
All right,
well,
so
if you could, can you drop your email in the chat along with your name, and then I'll try to get them to you. I'll try to get them to you while we're in this meeting, but while we're in this training, but I will get those to you.
okay. All right, so knowing that our pretend organization in Georgia is who we're going to be searching for, using the 3 questions that were on the previous slide, who are you serving, where are they, and what are you doing for them? How might we identify some terms, some descriptions for this program? So what words would we use to search for who we are serving? It looks like youth, maybe specific, we can get specific with gender, with ethnicity, children, elementary school students. Where are they? We called out very specifically in the description Atlanta, but we also know that Atlanta could be much more specific than that. And so when we think about Detroit, right, we talk about Detroit. Sometimes you can search east side of Detroit. You could also zoom out a little bit more and search Wayne County. You could zoom out even further and search Southeast Michigan. You could even go Midwest, depending on what kind of search results you're getting when you put these qualifiers into the system. And zoom in and out as far as you want to get to a really good set of data that you can then start to work with. All right, what are we doing for them? This could be all sorts of things. We're talking about recreation, physical activity, obesity, cooking, nutrition, food choices, wellness, after-school activities. I don't know if they've added out of school time, but I know that that's that's new vernacular that we're using here specifically. So as you're thinking about how to describe your specific programs, think about it in very specific and uniquely searchable ways, right? So you're thinking about income levels, race, gender, age, physically, where are they? A city, a metro area, county, state, region, globally. And then what you're actually doing and what it will achieve, right? So if you're building a food pantry, you might search hunger or nutrition. If you're talking about building job skills and employability, you might search employment, workforce development, right? It's using a foundation directory is a bit of art and science. And I don't encourage anybody to get married to one set of searchable data because changing words just slightly will give you different results. So I encourage a bit of flexibility, but when you find a funder that fits nicely, just make note and then we'll talk about how to keep track of them. All right, so I would encourage you all right now to take the next 2 minutes, 1 to 3 minutes, let's call it, to answer the 3 questions on your own. And Esther, if you go back just one more slide.
Okay.
Who are you serving? Where are they? And what are you doing for them? I'll give you just a couple of minutes to write that down. And if anybody wants to share in the chat, you're welcome to, or raise your hand. Love to hear how you've identified the answers to these questions for your specific organization. Just another few seconds here. See that Bree Williamson shared. We specifically serve residents of our neighborhood through various neighborhood benefit programs. They're located within the strict boundaries of neighborhood, and we have various programs they can access: home repairs, food distribution, senior lawn care. Excellent. And Bree, I would encourage you to name the neighborhood, right? You can put in a geography. For specific neighborhood organizations, funders may not necessarily get as narrow as, say, Osborne. We know that some do, but just for example. So if we're doing neighborhood specific work, sometimes we can put in the neighborhood and get really great results, but sometimes we have to zoom out just a little bit and say east side of Detroit as opposed to a specific neighborhood. So I just encourage you to think as we're searching the database to use that zoom lens in and out. And the residents of our neighborhood, again, using Bree's very brave example, thank you for sharing. When we talk about the residents, are we talking about youth, seniors, men, women, children, right? Like to think about more specifically how we can define and describe our residents. And that you may be for your organization serving all residents within your geography, but there are some funders that will fund specifically youth programs, and you will find that apropos for you to be searching for those funding opportunities anyway. All right, so now that you've articulated who you're serving, where they are, and what you're doing for them, now are we ready to start searching the foundation directory? Yep.
So you ready to go back to the other slide?
I think so.
Okay. Okay. This is where we left off at.
Yep. So this is when you access the foundation directory online, this is where you start with a very simple screen that looks like any Google search. Describe what you're trying to fund and why. And so using our Atlanta-based example, very simple: health after school program, low income children, Atlanta, Georgia. Now, on the next screen, you'll see this will show up how foundation directory heard your, oh, one screen up, I think. Hysteria, project-based search, advanced search filters.
Right here? Okay.
Yeah. And so you'll see it'll turn up with child welfare, these different searches. So this is what the foundation directory understood your search terms to mean. Now on the next page, you'll see this is returned results within the foundation directory of 2,783 grant makers that have given away 30,000 grants to 1,000 recipients. They've pulled this from 1,400 tax documents. This is a lot of grant makers to search through. But now, if you narrow that search more specifically to do out of school learning, health in Atlanta, Georgia, this drops the results significantly. So on the next page, you'll see the different funders that give to organizations similar to the one that we're using to describe. And so this is where our work becomes really important to evaluate these prospects to see if they're a strong or weak fit. So just looking at this, I do want to caution on the third search result, you'll get this in almost all of your foundation directory online searches. Fidelity Charitable, not in the grant maker, that's not really a funder that you should be going after or prospecting, because that's like when people make gifts through their own retirement accounts. But some that I would dig into, right? The Bank of America Charitable Foundation, they've given away $36 million in grants to, I can't see because it's too tiny number of grant makers. But once you dig in, you'll be able to click on them and get more information. We're going to look at some of that now. So how do you evaluate the prospects for whether they're a good fit or a strong fit? On the next slide, there's some specific questions that you'll want to have in the back of your mind as you're evaluating these funders. So here are 5 very specific questions to ask yourself when you're deciding whether or not this funder is a good fit. They'll publish their requirements. Do you meet them? That's an easy filter, yes or no. Does my project or does the mission of my organization fit within the giving priorities of this funder? What are the size of the grants? Like, are they giving away grants that are robust enough to support your program? Or are they only giving away grants that are far too large for your organization to manage? There's important information to think about. Do they support organizations like mine? You'll be able to see in your geography very specifically who they're funding. And that's great information, right? How many of you go to a nonprofit event and you see in the back of the program, like, oh, these guys funded this thing, and you add them to your prospect. Same thing, but with more data behind it. And then also within the foundation directory, they will pull together information about who's who. That tab I find so great. You get to see who's on their board of directors, who volunteers for the organization, who the staff is. So you can begin to learn who you need to begin building relationships with. And so we'll dig into that a little bit more on the next handful of slides. So when you access a funder's profile, you'll click on one of these. And then, we'll dig into the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, just because everybody is trying to figure out how to get Bill and Melinda Gates money. And so on the next slide, you'll see the giving limitations of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So very clearly here, I would know from their applications, RFP, and giving limitations, whether or not they'd be a good fit for funding. So anybody have any thoughts about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Should I keep digging or no? I'm going for it. Right. They've only limited, oh, you can't see, yeah, we can't see the whole page. It's
Right.
true. We don't have the screenshot of the rest of it. But basically they're saying we do give nationally and internationally, but if you're addressing health problems in developed countries, not ideal. That's okay. I'm still digging on them because I want to learn more. So on the next page, we'll be able to see, where do they give? So they're based in Seattle, Washington. And you can see where most of their money is going. So their primary funding opportunity is health. Put that in a column, yes. Where is the money going? If I look at the map of the United States, Georgia, very dark. That means they're giving a lot of funding in the state of Georgia. Tiffany, I think maybe their international bend is going to preclude them from being a good funder for us, but this map is showing us that perhaps they do make some exceptions to the rule. How big are the grants? I can't see on my screen. It's too teeny to see the size of the grants that they're giving, but that's important information as you're developing your prospect list. So when you're determining where you spend your limited resources, your finite energy in pursuing funders, you want to make sure that it's with funders that align with your, not only your projects, but also your fiscal needs and responsibilities. My guess is, knowing what I know about the Gates Foundation, those are going to be big, fat, giant numbers. So I would dig into those a little bit more by drilling into the state of Georgia. So we're not going to do it here today. We'll do it when you come on site, or if you get access to this for free at your own desktop, which you can. You could click even further into Georgia and further into the county, so you can begin to see organizations that are within your geography, so that you know, are they funding organizations that I know with programs like mine? All right, so another handy result that you can get is on the next page. Their most common grant amount is $100,000. This is where you'll begin to see organizations that get support from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So you can begin to see, all right, are these my kind of organizations? Am I similar to them? You can drill in and see what programs they supported and how much. And so on this next page, you'll see very specifically the name of the organization that they funded, where they're located, the subject that they were funding, and then the grant amount. That's helpful information as you build out your prospect lists for seeking funding. Another handy page within the foundation directory is the who's who, and I mentioned it briefly a few slides before, but you can begin to see who's affiliated with this organization. Not all of the foundation directory online research will have a lot of robust information here, but most will have at least their officers or trustees listed. So that's helpful information as you begin to determine who you're going to build relationships with. All right, about the funder. So if a prospective donor wants more information, Facebook will direct them to the nonprofit profiles. And this is why I think GuideStar is really important for you. So if your organization, all of your organizations have a GuideStar profile. If you're a registered 501c3 organization, you exist on GuideStar. Whether or not you've claimed your profile, I'd say about 50% of the organizations that I see in our workshops have claimed their profiles. It's important to do that because many funders, many donors will start by Googling your organization, and then GuideStar information will pop up, and they're very, it's pretty simple to claim your profile with very detailed information about what's important for funders to know about you. Who's on your board? What do you do? Who do you serve? And depending on which level of GuideStar certification you achieve, there we go. We've got a silver seal. I think you can go all the way up to platinum. It's very good governance for your nonprofit organization to do the things that GuideStar asks you to. You know, whether or not many donors find a ton of information on you and make their giving decisions solely based on GuideStar, I don't think so. But it does add a layer of transparency and credibility, which is really important in our sector to continue to build that trust with donors. So donors do their research, whether they're individuals or foundation donors. Okay, so the application and RFP. This is an example of, hey, we got a platinum seal online. Congratulations. Gosh, this is so teeny. But the thing I want to share here, not all foundations accept RFPs. So don't be discouraged if you see that, or not all foundations publish RFPs. Many foundations don't accept unsolicited proposals. Don't be discouraged by that. But when you find a foundation that shares information about how they like you to apply to them, listen, right? Don't break the rules. Don't think you can go around it, right? If they say we don't accept unsolicited proposals, don't just lob something over to them for consideration. But the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has their very published specific information, then also what they require from you to be prepared to submit an application for consideration. This page is kind of fun too, the communication page. This will often show you, I don't know if I can see it on there. Oh, I'm so sorry.
You can see it.
I can see it now. Depending on how active the foundation is with their communication, this can be really, really great information. They'll pull in articles from all over the news wire. They'll pull their LinkedIn, their Facebook, really great places to get nosy with the foundation to begin to build your information set about what they're funding, who they're talking to, where they're showing up in place and space, all which is really robust and good information. All right. So you're going through, you've got thousands of results. How do you organize this? In the foundation directory, they have a few really simple ways for you to organize the information. So at the top, you can extract the information, you can save it to a PDF, you can email it to yourself, this little bullseye with the arrow through it. You can do sort of like an online test, for lack of a better word, to see if the funder is a good prospect for you. If you want to come back to it, you can hit the little star button, which will put them into your favorites. The bell will give you notifications when anything changes within their grantmaker profile. And then the little tags there, that's, if you want to begin to save within the foundation directory, within the foundation, Asteria, can you drop the link in for the foundation directory online? And no, I'm not repeating myself. I don't think I've shared it once, the foundation directory online. So I can tell you all right now, if you are, how do you access it? Foundation directory and GuideStar are the same. They're not the same, though they are both part of Candid. So Candid is a relatively nonprofit organization that manages both GuideStar and the foundation directory. So the GuideStar is for the nonprofits to upload and share their information. The foundation directory is for the funders to do the same. The foundation directory online, you can access it for free if you go to, what are we called, Asteria? A funding network partner, I think.
Yes, I thought it was community network partner. But
clearly we know what we are. If you go to foundation directory online, you can search where to access the foundation directory online for free in person. So I know Wayne State University is a foundation directory online partner. COACT is a foundation directory online partner where you can go in, log in through their VPN and search just like we could show you here. Alternatively, and this is a great way to do it, if your organization is gold certified through GuideStar, so if you go through those seals of transparency, getting those for your organization, once you achieve gold, which is pretty simple, then you can have access to an abbreviated version of GuideStar, of the foundation directory online, wherever you are. And you can come to the, our COACT partners are having drop-in work days, and I like to hang out there for those drop-in work days and poke around in foundation directory online with our nonprofit partners. So if you want to search and you want to partner in searching, I kind of get really into this and love to make prospect lists with folks. Okay, so once you get your searches together, you can export it into an Excel working document. You can email it to yourself, or you can just print it to a PDF. I like to take it out, put it into an Excel spreadsheet so I can manipulate the data and work with it on my own to determine good fit, bad fit, so that when I report back to my executive leadership, to my grant funding team, to whoever's helping this grant seeking endeavor, we considered them, they are a good fit for these reasons. We considered them, they're a terrible fit for these reasons. And that second version is really important, because inevitably you're going to have volunteers or executives or partners that say, gosh, why aren't we getting money from Mackenzie Scott? And you can very articulately say, here's what I did, the research, and here's why we're not able to seek funding from them at this time or ever. All right, so you can also search for a specific organization. And this is fun too, because if you know organizations like yours, you can search that organization and then it will share with you a list of results of funders that have funded that organization. That can be pretty handy information as well. So the keyword field, use it with caution, right? You want to describe your organization as best you can, but I think we're on the next page of stereo. So if you put some information, if you put a keyword in there and you're not getting results or you're getting wonky results, just have some leeway with yourself. Modify it, back in, back out. Oh, and this is where can you access the foundation directory? You can also buy a subscription. So we talked a lot about already how to access the foundation directory at Candid partner locations by getting access for free through the gold certification. You can also subscribe. You can pay to have this at your desktop at your desktop in the most robust form possible. And here's the website, fdo.org. The cost may vary depending on zip code or size of your organization. I can't remember how Candid determines the cost. I would say if you are ready to make good use of this tool, subscribing is really helpful. If you've got an active and robust grant seeking team, if you've got a case for support that's well articulated, cleaned up, put together, ready to ship, pay for the subscription because you can get great information from it. But if you're not quite at that point and you're just sort of sticking your toe in a grant seeking world, start by visiting Candid partner locations like COACT or Wayne State University. Until you find out, is this the kind of tool that is helpful for you? Once you're in it, there are lots and lots of ways to get help, right? We've done an incredibly rapid drive-by overview of the foundation directory. But when you're in there, there are many, many self-serve resources. So there's help articles, YouTube will tell you where to go. Like even sometimes I'll go to YouTube to figure out how do I identify it's handy. And they also offer really robust chat, email support online through their platform and through their website. Asteria.
Yes.
Somebody just asked, is there a Candid partner in Washtenaw County? I think so. I just don't know who it is.
I don't know. Yeah, you can go to the Candid website and they'll list I think you put in a search and they'll list all of the Candid, all the FDO sites, all the foundation directory sites that have it available. So usually libraries have it available.
Yeah, it's usually libraries. So what I think might be interesting is to do this like in real time. Maybe just see with one of your organizations how this goes. Because we have a few minutes yet, right? Asteria, if I do a time check.
Yeah.
All right.
You want me to stop? I'll stop sharing my screen and you can share yours.
Yep. Okay. And then I want to go back because there are a couple of folks that shared very specifically what they're doing. United Block Club Council serves seniors in the Midwest community on the west side of Detroit within the Midwest boundaries of our community. Home repairs, health information, and housing. All right. Ethel, you want to come off mute and play with me a little bit in the foundation directory for the good of the class?
Morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning. All right, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to use some of your organization information and just see how we can dive in a little bit more deeply to the foundation directory. All right. All right, please ignore the brain of mine that is the tabs at the top. It just happens. All right, for the purpose of this exercise, I'm going to exclude federal funders. Sometimes it's important to include them. Sometimes I find that it can be a little bit funky, the results. So, Ethel, what would you put in here for what we search?
First I put in Michigan because I want to be in my state. And I would put in Midwest. Oh, well, I would put in
Maybe
West
Southeast.
Side Detroit, maybe.
I'm going to start bigger and then we'll get closer if we get too many or if we
Okay.
don't in the West Side. And you had in your description subject area. How do you describe the work that you do for your organization?
United Block United Block Club is an umbrella of block clubs. And our top three, we try to keep top three, is home repairs, health information, and what my third one was, and housing, affordable housing, affordable.
All right.
Mhm.
Let's just call that community economic development. We'll see what happens.
Yes.
And then I don't know that you had a specific population that you worked with. Did you? Did you go as deep with age?
I concentrated on seniors first.
Okay. I'm going to get rid of that. I want to keep it with adults
Okay.
and not young adults.
Okay.
All right. And then let's just see. Let's see what we get here for results for this. I'm going to narrow this because you can search by grant amounts if you're only looking for a certain size grant. The years of giving, I like to shorten this to the most recent handful of years because, I don't know, it's not always handy to find organizations that gave, I don't know, 15 years ago to see if that changes things. We're right now looking at 756 grant makers. That took out about half of them. So now with these 404 grant makers, they've given 1,100 grants to 163 organizations.
Thank you.
So we can now begin to see where they are. I like to do it funded. Some of these that are new to me, right? So I think fun one to look into here would be the Michigan Health Endowment Fund. They've given 24 grants totaling $6 million. Their assets, they have a nice chunk of change to be supporting the community. And when we look at Michigan Health Endowment Fund, again, they give really good information. This is a real live example of what we can find. So
Yes. Yeah.
human education, community, you see Michigan.
I
Here.
create worm castings. I use worms to make worm castings.
Uh-oh.
Yes, not so
I think we
focused
need
in
one more.
composting.
Okay,
I
somebody,
also do composting, but it's just not what I specialize. I do have several
Sarah, can you mute
types
the
of
folks
setup
that
for
might not
composting.
know they're not on mute?
okay, I think I just did.
Okay, thank you.
I tried to.
So we can get really specific into Wayne County and see, all right, these are the kind of organizations that they're supporting with grants in my particular geography. And so you may see here Detroit Area Agency on the Aging and want to look a little bit more on these kind of gifts that they're giving specifically to them. Nice size grant amount. So I would put them on my list of organizations to consider. Oops, I just backed out too far. Okay, I can back right back in. Can see the size of their grants. They like to give in this 100,000 to $500,000 range, maybe 50,000 to $500,000. And then you can see here their financials. You can see who they gave to, who's on their staff. This one can always be fun too. Other funders to consider. So if you've gone through this and you're like, yep, Michigan Health Endowment Fund is right in my sweet spot. I'm putting them on my list to research and figure out how to get closer to them so that I can be prepared to make a proposal. I would also look at what other funders are similar to them. This is based on subject, geography, grant amounts, and whatnot. Sometimes you can find good information. Sometimes there is absolutely nothing. Some of our funders are peerless. Um, but you can find their staff information, articles about who they're giving to, and that's that. So there's a lot of information that you can pull out of this tool that will help you to be more informed grant seeking organizations. So I would, for your organization, I would certainly put this on my to be considered list. So
Okay.
I hope that by just using, and thank you for being a brave one to share your organization mission with us and to show a real life local example of what we can find when we're using the foundation directory. All right, Asteria.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, what's next? So, Asteria, you can say this part. Uh-oh, if you're talking, you've muted yourself along with everybody else.
Myself. I didn't want to keep you. Okay. We're gonna do something a little different today. I know it's really hard to get surveys after the training sessions from people. So we're gonna take like 5 minutes, and if you all could please either put the link in and do the survey, or either just click on the QR code. And if you could it would really be really appreciated if you could. Your feedback is very important. It helps us determine how we're doing and what we can do better. So if we're gonna take about 5 minutes, and there's only 10 questions on this survey, it's really short. Shouldn't take you no time. So if you could all do that for me, please, it would be greatly appreciated.
And then when you finished your survey, if you have questions that we can answer specifically in the chat, I'll be here. Also, do you have an email we can connect with you for? Yes, however, I'm notoriously not the best at responding to emails because they're coming at me from lots of different angles. But I will also say, yeah, I'm happy to give you my email, but also a really great way to connect to talk about any of your fundraising concerns at all, whether it's Foundation Directory Online, marketing strategy, board and governance. One of the things that my team is committed to doing is providing pro bono coaching hours with COACT through their CoLab Connect program. And so we've set aside some time every week to spend one-on-one time with organizations to answer your burning questions. And so while you're doing the survey, I can, unless Asteria has it handy, the link to COACT free events.
I don't have that link.
All right, I'll go look while you're.
Website. If they go to our website,
Okay. Let me find it. And not just me. So Mavita Burris, who's on my team, she also does some. There are lots of CoLab Connect appointments around other topics like data, finance, all sorts of good stuff. So there's that link. And then also, I am planning to be on site for the next drop-in workday, which is fun. You can spend time with me, but you can also spend time with other nonprofit leaders who are facing similar challenges. And I find that connectivity and sharing of time and resources and energy to be really, really beneficial, because our work can feel isolating at times. Well, it's certainly heart-filling and energy-giving to be surrounded by other folks that do the same work that you do every day. Can be really, really beautiful way to spend an entire day or just a couple of hours out of the day. I think before we go, I think there's a slide in this deck that has that.
Excuse me, Asteria, could you put the link to the survey in the chat, because it's hard to, we're not able to access it from the QR code.
Oh, wow. Okay. What's this one? Okay. Give me 1 second here. I'm gonna have to stop share for a minute, good people.
And while Asteria is pulling up that survey link, this is this introduction to foundation directory. It was obviously rapid fire just to give you an overview of what's possible using this resource. We are doing a series on introduction classes. The next one we have is at the end of May. It is called the Introduction to Fundraising Planning. So as you're considering all of the mix of resources that you have available to you to fund your organization's work, we will go, we'll do a quick flyover of the things to consider when you're planning your fundraising strategy. I know that the end of May feels like a million miles from the beginning of 2025, but it's really important to have a good plan so that when we're answering to our constituents, we're prepared to go with a robust and strong plan. Well, it looks like some folks were able to make the QR code work. Thank you.
Really good.
Asteria, I think, yep, that's clickable, so amazing. How do we do? Thanks for your feedback. That just helps us know how much time to plan for these. Oop. Excellent.
All right, well, thank you all. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, and I really encourage you to keep in touch, especially with COACT on social media. They share many real robust resources to support the nonprofit sector. We'd love your feedback on what you learned today, what you enjoyed. Sign up for their newsletter because they always have something really wonderful going on, and it'll keep you in the loop regarding further events and offerings. Feel free to tag us and share on social media. But again, I'm grateful for your time. We have 5 more minutes left in our time together. So if anybody has specific questions, certainly happy to stay on and answer any of those questions.
And just so you know, our next drop-in work day where Trish says she'll be here, and you will have access to the FDO Foundation Directory Online, is next Thursday, which is May 16th, I believe. And it's from 10 to 4.
There's snacks.
Yeah, we have
Snacks.
We provide continental breakfast and lunch. So.
Thank you, Viva. Thank you, Joellen. Sorry, Miss Stokes.
Jolene, you got it close enough.
Thank you. Well, I don't like to be close enough. I like to get it just right. So thank you for coming off, Jolene.
Thank you.
And then as you can see, our next class is Introduction to Fundraising Planning, which is scheduled for May 21st. So we'll be back here on May 21st.
Thank you for sharing, everybody.